In the other lessons, I taught you how to build this website, Modern Habitat, from scratch, and we also built a still image ad together as well as a slideshow creative. So in this lesson, we're going to be capping off the final type of advertisement, and it's going to be a video ad. So that should be very, very exciting. And a video ad, I'm going to teach you how to make one in a completely different way than everyone else. One way that is low budget, and we're going to be pushing these pillows that's sort of been the focus of all of our advertisement lessons so far as it relates to Modern Habitat. This one is going to be a very, very exciting one. A lot of people always ask me how I like to make videos, and this is the answer: without the use of expensive production companies. So here I am in Shutterstock, and you can use any stock image site. They actually provide stock videos as well, which is what we're going to be leveraging together. And when I think about pillows, I think about a pillow fight. So that is exactly what I'm going to be looking for. It kind of fits that homey vibe. And my suspicion, right, I haven't run the site yet, but my suspicion is our target demographic is really going to be like stay-at-home moms, or at least females that are very, very interested in home improvement and design. And I just want to call out right now that the video editing software that we're going to be using together is going to be Final Cut Pro on the Mac, but Adobe Premiere on Windows is also just as good and something that I use all of the time. So it doesn't really matter what software you use, but just know that these lessons are going to be very Final Cut Pro centric. So I've gone ahead and downloaded this footage. It was around $79, which, you know, can be viewed as a little expensive, which is why I don't really recommend video ads right off the bat. I like still image ads, carousels, and slideshows a lot more, but this is just to give this course another layer of information for you to leverage, because sometimes video ads can be very effective, especially when you make it in this way. So now we've made our way over to Final Cut Pro. I've gone ahead and opened a new project, and we're going to have to set the dimensions on this thing so that it is optimal for the Facebook related assets, and it's going to be the same dimensions as stuff what we were doing with the slideshow, right? Remember, the slideshow is basically a video ad. I'm going to go ahead and click custom and then go to 1400 by 1600 and also make it 29.97p. And again, all these edits are going to take place in Final Cut Pro, but every single video editing software out there is going to have some variation of the skills that I teach you. So really focus for this lesson more on like the creative lens, less on the execution, because you're going to be able to easily do the same thing once you kind of master why I'm doing the things I'm doing, regardless what platform you're on, for those of you guys that don't have Macs. So now we've uploaded this video, right? It's finished downloading, and I'm just going to adjust the position of this thing. And on Final Cut Pro, it's going to be under the Transform tab. So let's go ahead and move this thing up. You can see the same theories I'm using with this video I've already gone through in the slideshow creative and the still image creatives. You can kind of imagine that I'm trying to get a good frame going while also leaving room to put some products in later. So I'm scaling this to be a little closer and then moving this over to the left so that this scene can really be the focus of how we sell these pillows. Perfect. Awesome. Now let's take a look at what this will look like. Awesome, right? I think this looks great, and it's definitely fitting the vibe of Modern Habitat. Very loving, very friendly, and honestly, this looks like it could have been a professional video shoot. So now what I want to do is change that black box over here into something that is going to be easier to put products on. So probably some variant of white. So what I'm going to do that is go into the generator, and then I'm just going to pick up a solid right over here. And you can see that one is basically the color white, or at least it's an off-white, and we can adjust this later. So I'm just going to drag it over there and make it the same duration as the video. And then you can see right now it's kind of a gray, but it's a perfect color for us to put some products in later, which are going to be those pillows, right? And this is kind of looking like a slideshow slash still image, right? So again, applying the same theories, except now this is just a video creative. And if you want to make this more white, what we do is we just go into the color board right over here, and then you can see that we can adjust the brightness and the contrast. And if we make it very, very bright, it turns into a bright white background for this creative, and I think that looks really good. So now all we have to do is just put in the products over here, and we're going to be leveraging Photoshop in order to get the right images. So I'm going to go over to Photoshop now. And now that I'm in Photoshop, you can see this is that slideshow creative that we made together. I'm going to make a canvas that is going to be in the same dimensions, 1400 by 1600, so it matches the canvas that we're using for the video. And now what we have to do is just find the images that we want to use. So going back to the AliExpress catalog, I'm just going to pick 3 pillows that I want to leverage. So let's go to here and take on this one, and I'm going to be using the magic wand tool in order to get rid of the background. So make sure you've watched the other creative lessons before you do this one, because again, there's a lot of skill sets that are going to be rinse and repeat. I use this magic wand, and I also teach you what to do in a world where the magic wand doesn't have the best selection the first time that you use it. So now let me go to this one over here. Perfect. So copy that one, paste it over, and obviously going to use that magic wand again. Amazing. Magic wand is just such a cool tool. When it doesn't grasp the way you want to first just change the tolerance, and if that doesn't work as well, you're going to use the polygonal lasso tool. Again, refer to the same lessons that I did the still image and the slideshow on, so you can get a better glance of this. So now that we have the products oriented down here, what I'm going to want to do is make a reflection as well as shadows, which I've already gone over how to do in the previous creative lesson. So this one is not going to be as thorough as before, but of course I want you to learn, and I'm still going to be calling out these steps. So we have these things lined up now, and it is absolutely perfect. So now what we're going to do is go over to the rectangular tool and switch it over to the ellipse tool. Okay, and that's what we're going to be making the shadows with. So there it is, and I'm just going to be drawing these little ovals in black right underneath each pillow. And don't worry, these shadows don't look realistic right now, but they're going to be looking a lot better after we do some other tricks. So I'm move the shadow to the end of the layer area on Photoshop, so this is behind all of the other pillows, and then we're going to be doing the same thing for the other pillows. We can just copy and paste this black ellipse over. Perfect. Awesome. And then let's do it again. So for that final pillow over there, just because we need some uniformity. Perfect. That is looking great, and I hope this is pretty cool, right? We're using a combination of Photoshop and video editing, which takes off a lot of burden on our video editing. So now we're going to be going to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur for the ellipse, right? And we want to convert that to the smart object, and we just want to adjust this thing until it gets realistic. I think that looks pretty good. Awesome. And let's do it again for the other one. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur, right? Awesome. Perfect. And we're just going to keep that same setting we did on the previous blur. Another way I could have done this is just selected all the ellipse and then did the Gaussian blur for all of them. So that would have been perfectly fine. Beautiful. We have these shadows. Now I'm just going to click on all 3 layers for these pillows in order to make that reflection. So I've copied and pasted, and then we're going to go to image, right? And then, we're going to go to edit. I keep making mistakes. Transform, and then going to flip vertical. All right, this is going to be that mirror reflection that we're going to be doing. So I'm waiting for that thing to load. Awesome. Now I'm going to drag this thing down underneath. Perfect. And we're going to want to make sure that the alignment is good for it to be a reflection. And I'm going to move the copied versions, right, the reflective layers all the way down compared to the originals. And we're going to line things up perfectly just so that it will be a realistic shadow that we're going to be making here. Amazing. So that is absolutely awesome. And now what we're going to do is just make a layer mask for each pillow, right? And again, we're making the layer mask for the reflective layer, not the original. And using the gradient tool, we're going to draw this line in a way until the reflection looks kind of realistic and professional. Perfect. So we're going to do the same thing for every single shape. Layer mask and then the gradient tool, right? Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Perfect. That one is looking great. And then we also have the middle one over here. So layer mask, okay, and then gradient tool. Perfect. I hope you're following along, and I hope this brings back a lot of memories from the other creative lessons that we've had together. So now that this thing is looking pretty great, and it might take some time for it to adjust the reflection so it looks realistic, now we're going to go to the layer, like the background layer, and then delete it, so then it has that transparent background. And now this thing is ready to be used on Final Cut Pro. So I'm gonna go to File, Save As, okay, save onto the computer. Perfect. And we're just gonna give it a name of something we're gonna remember, and of course it's gonna be a PNG as usual. And now let's go back to Final Cut Pro. Alrighty, so we're going to be plugging in that image and just dragging it over here. That's the image we just made on Photoshop. So you just drag the file over there, and Final Cut Pro is just going to integrate it over to the storyboard. And there you go. It looks pretty dynamite, right? And now what we can do is just using Final Cut Pro, make sure that these pillows are in the right position. So I think we can move them a little bit higher, but you can kind of see how this could turn into a very, very cool ad. And we just bootstrapped this thing, right? We didn't have to pay for a video shoot or anything like that. So let me just go to the original image and move that thing up. Comparatively awesome. So I think that looks really, really good now. And the one more thing that this creative is going to be missing is just some text, right? Whatever offer that we're going to be running for this advertisement. So let me just go back to Photoshop to make that. Alrighty, here we are, and I'm just gonna hide everything from before so we can just use this same canvas to do what we want to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the rectangular tool with the color white in order to draw something to make it visible. And now I'm just gonna change the color white because the preset was on black. Perfect. Okay, and now I'm just going to use that text, and obviously we want to make sure that this text goes all the way to the top so that it can be visible, and we also want to make sure that this text is going to be in black so we can actually see it. So we're just going to be creating the sales message now that we're going to be plugging on that video, except we're going to do it through Photoshop, which makes it very powerful and easy. So made this bigger for you to see, and I'm just going to say 2 for 1. And again, right, this is just a random messaging that I'm going to be giving you for the sake of this creative lesson. Obviously, if you're running a store-wide sale, you're going to want to make sure that the messaging is in correspondence to what you're doing. Make sure that this is adjusted. Perfect. And I've memorized kind of what that video looks like, so I know exactly how to position this image. And I'm going to just put in something cute, right, for the perfect pillow fight, right? Really emphasizes that vibe that we're going for on Modern Habitat. Awesome. And I think this looks pretty beautiful, right? And the parentheses is kind of like a nice touch for people to look at. So now I'm gonna hide that rectangular layer that we made. Remember, we only made that white rectangle layer just so we can see the text, but it doesn't serve any other purpose. So I'm gonna save this file as text for the video so I know exactly what it is, and we're gonna go back into Final Cut Pro now to plug it in. So I've gone ahead and just dragged in this image in the same way that we've dragged the other image into the storyboard, and I'm gonna make it the same duration as the video so it works out. And now all we have to do is just change the positioning of this text so that it's appealing. So I'm gonna play with these settings, and I think now it's pretty apparent that this is gonna be a pretty cool ad, right? And it took us maybe 15 minutes total in order to make this thing. So maybe your first time it could take a little bit longer, but again, once you master these skills, it's really just rinse and repeat, a methodology that works over and over again. So let me just make sure that this thing is absolutely perfect. And now what we're gonna do is just upload it as a Facebook ad, right? And that's kind of a preset setting that's in Final Cut Pro. And I know that this same setting is also in Adobe Premiere, which makes it very easy. We're here in Ad Manager now in the ad creation segment of Ad Manager, and I've already plugged in a burner ad copy. So we're gonna just put in this video now. Perfect. So this copyright again is the same one that I've been doing for still image and slideshow for this store, and that's just for you to kind of see what it's going to look like. To actually master the art of copyright for your advertisements, you're going to want to watch the lessons on copyright, and here it is. We're just going to press play and see what it'll look like, and this thing will autoplay if someone is on a good connection speed, and I think this looks pretty dynamite considering that it took us under 20 minutes to make this thing, and also we didn't have to outsource it or hire for a professional shoot.